So, dungeons and raids. So I'm going to start with dungeons. And before I go into any specifics, I want to just take a minute to stress that we feel like we've done dungeons a bit of a disservice. Dungeons are essential. They are at the heart of what makes the MMO experience awesome. Going into a dungeon is going in and cooperating with a small group of your friends to overcome a challenge. And we want to make sure that there are more dungeons in Legion than before, that there's more varied challenges, more replayability, and more of a long-term reason to keep doing dungeons throughout the expansion. We don't want dungeons to be something that you just do for a month at the start and then forget once you've started to do raids. That said, let's talk specifics. So first up, the Halls of Valor. As Alex mentioned, this is one of the level-up dungeons that is high up in the clouds over Stormheim. And this is sort of a look at the dungeon itself. This is sort of, you look at the grand entrance. This is what you see when you first zone in. The Halls of Valor, very heavily inspired by Valhalla, right? The core Norse Viking fantasy. This is the place where the greatest warriors of the Vrykul are called to serve in the skies. And this is their eternal reward for being the greatest. Now, what brings you here is actually, over the course of Stormheim, as you are seeking out the Pillar of Creation from this zone that will help you seal up the Tomb of Sargeras, you are contending with the Legion cooperating leader of the Vrykul, the God King. And as you contend with him and race against him through the zone, both of your paths lead you to this place, which is the ultimate resting location of the Pillar, and you must prove yourself worthy in battle so that you may claim it and not him. Otherwise, we're all doomed. Also in this place, we're going to learn a lot more and witness more about the origin of the Valkyr. Now, these are not the undead, scourge-influenced Valkyr that you remember in Northrend. This is the more pure Valkyr, the Shield Maiden, the Warrior of the Light, that is as core a part of the fantasy as the Vrykul themselves. Next, Blackrook Hold. Blackrook Hold is going to be a max-level dungeon in the zone of Val-Shara. This was the ancestral home of Lord Ravencrest. And this is an elven structure unlike any elven structure you've ever seen before. It was a military fortress, a bulwark against the Legion, that was carved out of a single giant piece of stone, basically carved out of the mountain itself to be this impenetrable, unassailable fortress. But a dark shadow has fallen across this place now. So here we see a screenshot of this is sort of the interior main entry hall of Blackrook Hold. I think next up, yeah, this is a side hallway. You can see some light streaming in from the windows. Players are going to begin essentially in the basement, in the underground catacombs beneath Blackrook Hold, and work their way from the outside all the way to the very top of the spire, where they will confront the true threat and the evil that is corrupting the castle itself. This is a look from the outside courtyard, looking up at the walls and towers of the complex. This is an elven structure, but again, it's not quite like any elven structure you may have seen before. Next, the Vault of the Wardens. So this is a place that will be very familiar to demon hunters. As a demon hunter, and Tom will tell you a bit about this in the next bit, this is where you awaken. This was the Warden maximum security facility. Wardens being those awesome cloaked figures like Maiev that you may remember from Burning Crusade. This is where they have kept all of the greatest threats to the world. Demon hunters among them, but also countless other terrifying monsters. And this is the place where the events of that cinematic that you saw before the expansion announcement trailer happened, where Gul'dan found Illidan, where he was encased beneath the vault. Now, what was he up to? What is his plan? What is his purpose? We don't know, but it's a sure bet that it's nothing good. It's nothing that we want to have happen. And so we're going to begin investigating that mystery. We're going to begin hunting down Gul'dan and Illidan in this place. So here we see, this is one of the top levels of the Vault of the Wardens. We see some of the owl symbolism and that crescent half-moon shape that is their characteristic glaive that they wield. We see that prominently throughout this place. Very ornate, but also a place of great darkness and great evil. This is a lower level of the dungeon. You see cells lining the walls where all manner of former inhabitants have been kept. So then, of course, we're going to have more dungeons. So let me talk quickly about some of those. So first off, we're going to have a dungeon in Azuna where you contend with the minions of Queen Azshara, with the Naga that have been thwarting your actions every step of the way through the zone. We figured Eye of Azshara would be a good name for it for some reason. I'm not sure. Next up, Darkheart Thicket. This is in Val'Sharah. This is at the foot, the base of the World Tree Saladrisil that towers over the zone as a whole. This is the heart of the nightmare corruption that is infesting and spreading through the zone and which will eventually overtake our world if we don't stop it. So you are going, cutting your way through dark thickets and brambles into a chamber at the base of the tree itself where you need to rescue Malfurion himself from the corruption and the clutches of the nightmare. Another dungeon is going to be Neltharion's Lair. Neltharion's Lair, as Alex mentioned, is in High Mountain. This was a cavern where thousands of years ago, the Earth Warder, the Black Dragon Neltharion, lived. This was before he became Deathwing, before his corruption, but he was still the most massive, the most giant of all the dragons. And the space that he's hollowed out reflects that. Since those times, this has become the center of the Drogbar society. These are the sort of rocky, fierce, brutal warriors of High Mountain, and we need to venture into their capital in order to recover the Pillar of Creation wielded by their chieftain. Helheim. Helheim, well, it's sort of in Stormheim, but it's not precisely in Stormheim. This is kind of the polar opposite of the Halls of Valor. Whereas the greatest warriors of the Vraipool ascend to the Halls of Valor, the cursed spirits get on the ship, Niflvar, that leads them to Helheim, where they are cursed for all eternity as Kvaldir. Now, if you like the Grimrail Depot dungeon in Warlords, if you like the idea of riding a train, well, I think you're going to like this one. This is the Ghost Ship of the Damned, and most of the dungeon takes place on this ship, sailing through stormy seas in an immersive environment that's quite unlike anything we've ever seen in a dungeon in WoW before. Really excited to get people have their eyes on it. Next, Suramar City. This is the City of Night, where the Nightborn rule from their palace, but the city itself contains both catacombs beneath it and noble houses throughout the city, into which we will have to venture in order to uncover the ties to the Legion and the ultimate plan that is unfolding here. And, well, Violet Hold. So Dalaran, of course, is coming with us to the Broken Isles, and that means Violet Hold is coming with it. Now, it turns out there were some mysteries and deep secrets hidden within this place that we never uncovered the first time we were here. And bringing the city in proximity to the Tomb of Sargeras, once it comes to the Broken Isles, it awakens new secrets, new powers, new mysteries in this prison that we have to delve into, explore, and uncover. And we're going to learn a lot more about the origins of Dalaran, the origins of the mages of Dalaran, and actually the origins of the world itself. Raids. So for raids, we're actually pretty happy with how the overall structure in Warlords of Draenor played out. We had High Mall initially with 7 bosses that opened up a few weeks after the release of the expansion, and then sometime after that, Blackrock Foundry with 10 bosses. So we're keeping that overall structure. We think that's a good amount of raid content, and that's kind of what we're aiming for, and that's what we want to deliver in Legion. So the first raid, this is going to be the Emerald Nightmare itself. We have heard from players, as long as we can remember, since really the first days of World of Warcraft, that they wanted to see the Emerald Dream. You fought those green dragons that came out of the portals, the 4 green dragons in early WoW, and you just wanted to go through those portals to see what was on the other side, right? Well, now you get to. The Emerald Dream was created by the Titans as a blueprint for Azeroth itself. It was the perfect, untarnished, unspoiled version of our world, verdant and green and full of life. But something has gone horribly wrong here, and the Emerald Dream has descended into corruption, into nightmare, and that threatens to spread into our world and engulf it. So, whereas in the dungeon, we descend into the roots of the tree, for the raid, we're initially actually going to climb up into the tree itself and actually cross through the barrier that separates our reality from the reality of the dream. We will go in, root out corruption, seek out Cenarius, and ultimately confront Xavius himself at the heart of the nightmare in this ultimate conflict that will end the corruption of the Emerald Dream. Our next raid, Suramar Palace. So this is the palace in the city of Suramar. where the Grand Magistrix, who has brokered this dark deal with the Legion, looks over everything and runs the city. The Legion has come here for a dark purpose, and they have used and corrupted one of the Titan pillars of creation to shape their society, to create this Nightwell, a conduit of dark energy that is the center of Suramar's power. So this is a 10-boss raid, very traditional, somewhat reminiscent of Black Temple in terms of its layout and structure. You begin in an underground catacomb, essentially a back entry because you can't go through the front gate, work your way up to sort of outdoor balconies, royal quarters, and eventually to the heart of the Nightwell itself. We will confront both the Grand Magistrix and Gul'dan, who has come here as an ambassador of the Legion. We've been chasing Gul'dan for a long time, since really the beginning of Warlords of Draenor, when we made that fateful mistake of clicking on him and setting him free to begin our Warlords experience. But finally, he's cornered. He's not going to be able to run after this. Gul'dan is the ultimate boss of Suramar Palace Raid. Now, I just wanted to show you a concept of what the palace itself is going to look like. And now I know if you really love orcs and spikes and fire and fel, this might disappoint you. I know you might have been hoping for yet another raid since you heard Gul'dan. Okay, it's going to be a green orc raid, right? No. This is the Royal Elven City, the Palace of Suramar. They are an elevated, elegant, magical race, magical civilization, and their architecture reflects that. So this is going to be a very different type of look for a raid than we've seen in the recent past, and I can't wait to have you explore it. Can't wait until you can see it for yourselves.